The remarkable story of Korach and his rebellion clearly pivot around a number of different axes. There is the question, of course, about appropriate rebellion as opposed to obedience and loyalty. There is the question of machlokes and dispute in our community, when people should agree and how they should communicate when they disagree on a particular issue. But throughout it all, there is one more axis around which the story revolves. There is the question of relationships and their impact on our decision-making, their impact on virtually every aspect of our daily lives. The story of Korach is not just the story of Korach, it is the story of Korach va'adaso. It is the story of a mob mentality. It is a story of the way things become movements, not just individual actions, but that how they have ripple effects throughout a community, throughout a series and network of relationships that impact our lives in very, very significant ways. We are told and taught by Chazal, based on the story of Korach and his gang, Oy l'rasha, oy l'shchena, tov l'tzadik, tov l'shcheno. We are taught that there is a distinct impact and there is a strong correlation between the behaviors of one and the behaviors of those who surround that person. Yet, at the very same time, as we acknowledge the extraordinary level of impact that exists between these relationships and within these relationships, there is also a hint of another possibility. There is also a hint of the way in which we can break from some of those relationships and make our own independent decisions. Right at the beginning of the Parsha, when the genealogy of Korach is listed, Rashi is quick to point out that the list of his ancestors stops before Yaakov Avinu. This is because Yaakov davened that he should not have his name associated with this one of his offspring. He should not be linked in any way to Korach. This is not just an issue of attribution. This is not just an issue of where a person finds himself associated. This is clearly also a question of impact. It is also a question of Yaakov Avinu's establishing that there is a limit to the choices that a person makes and the way in which they are influenced by those who are around them and those who came before them. And perhaps in this regard, most remarkably in the story of Korach, is the curious case of Korach's own children. The Torah tells us later on that the children of Korach did not die in the Magefa, they did not die in the earthquake, they did not die when the pit opened up. The children of Korach, according to Chazal, did tshuva. The children of Korach established that they could have an independent identity that was not dependent, that was not completely and totally influenced on autopilot based on those who had come before him. Certainly, this impact always does exist. Certainly, a large part of who we are is determined by our surroundings and is determined by those who came before us. But at the same time, these are contributing factors, not defining factors. These are factors that play a role in the decisions that we make. They do not make these decisions for us. We always have the opportunity to form an independent identity and always have the opportunity to grow in ways that we believe to be correct, regardless of what is taking place around us.